And firstly, let's just get this out of the way. Talk us through the bid.
Yeah, it was really player-driven. It goes back to what I've been told 10 years ago. So it was the playoffs and razors away. You're not allowed to touch it. You've got to let it go bushy and quite itchy and frustrating as this draws out over a longer period. But, yeah, it's a good bonding for the team.
Now, we came to film training on Monday, but you guys were a no-show after an extended film session. Can you talk about what was addressed during that session after Game 2?
Yeah, we just, especially, getting off the plane, 10 hours earlier back from Melbourne, so it was we really wanted to hit it while it was fresh in our minds and, give the players a look to how we're playing out there. And they were pretty disappointed in how we played in that period. So, we've got a lot of fixing up to do, which is our work ethic. We weren't active defensively, we weren't rebounding the ball, and we gave them second chance points. And you do that to a good offensive team and you're going to struggle. You went with Vague over Brandt and Jervis in Game 2, but were convincingly beaten on the rebound count. Do you think you'll stick with that going into Game 3? Yeah, I thought Reece came on and just gave us a different look out there. He was able to stretch the floor and he had two good looks that just rimmed out. So, we're quite confident we can go big or we can go small ball. And, Reece had a great period out there. So, I dare say he'll get another shot there. Bryce has been limited in parts in both of these first two games. How important is finding him open looks in going into Game 3? Bryce I think he's averaging 7 assists, almost 7 rebounds, and it's almost a triple-double that he's averaging, and people go on to score him. But that's, a lot of teams trap him like they're doing. That's nothing new, and it's more so of other guys being active and not standing around watching, and that's what we were doing on Sunday, standing around watching him instead of crashing the glass and making ourselves active in a scoring option. You lost 8 out of 10 during the middle part of the season, but that loss to Cairns at home, how important was that in bringing the group together? I think that period we were questioning ourselves, and there was a lot of outside noise about another import, and we just kind of put that to bed straight away. We have faith in this team, and the team's responded to finishing first, and now we're challenging for a championship, and it certainly galvanised us together with those things going on, and now we're starting to play well. We are playing great basketball. So, out of contract at the end of this season, win or lose, do you expect to be here come pre-season next year? Yeah, look, I've already said that on record that the club, we talked earlier this year and the club said let's get the season done and talk after the season, so I respect that and just get on with the job of winning the championship here and maybe get another couple of beers thrown in extra.
Time to head live to Perth, where 4-time NBL champion and Wildcats living legend Ricky Grace joins us. Ricky, thanks so much for being on the show this evening. You've been in your fair share of NBL Grand Finals. What have you thought of the 2 games so far?
I thought it's been a great competition. No team has really played great from an offensive standpoint, but they're so familiar with each other. It's so hard to, execute offensively. It's been a defensive struggle, hard-fought championship series.
Ricky, it's Brad here, mate. Number one, let me start by saying that anyone that's watching this, he was the hardest man to guard in Australia. Unbelievable. It's actually an honour to have you on the show. Even though I played against you, it's great to have you here. I'm really interested to know, someone like yourself who just were unbelievable for the Wildcats. What would you be saying to a younger team now how to get this win on Wednesday? You've been there, you've done it. What would you be saying to them?
Well, you just go back to basics. When I was always going into a big game, I would just go back to basics. Keep my man in front of me, box him out, help when I can, just stick to the basics. I must say I was a little disappointed in the Wildcats' effort, intensity. It seemed like they were going at it as if it was a regular season game. I think you do grow a few inches and just have a little bit left for a championship game. And I didn't see that in the Wildcats the last game. I thought Melbourne were a much more desperate, much more team that was going harder at it.
We know that the Wildcats tend to rely on Bryce and Tariko White quite a lot. Is there anything that Trevor Gleeson can do to get a little bit more out of that support crew, the bench players perhaps?
Well, Bryce and, Bryce and Tarico have done a great job, but those role players, the Greg Hires and the, just all of that 5 through 9 for the Wildcats, to me, has been their strength over the past few years. So even though the imports, you get a lot of the credit, a lot of the other guys do a lot of the dirty work to actually get these guys open, to actually set screens, rebound, do a lot of the dirty work, guard the tougher defenders. So, Bryce and those guys do a lot of work, but it's those little things that actually win the championships. 20 offensive rebounds by Melbourne United. I've never seen the Wildcats get so many rebounds and then just simply get them taken away. I call it crocodile arms. They were playing with short arms instead of going and get it. And hopefully they'll be able to change those things around in the next game. But I think their 5 through 9 is the key, because you know what you're going to get from Bryce. You know what you're going to get from Tarico. It's those role players that you need 2 or 3 of them to stand up.
Yeah, that's a great point, and that leads me into my next one, role players. A lot of role players love playing at home. Talk to me about the Red Army, what that's like playing in front of them and how they can lift, obviously, the guns, but also the role players as well.
Yeah, I think it's, it's just a familiarity with the role players. The Wildcats are pretty deep. So is Melbourne United. But, I mean, even if you get to the Perth Arena about 30 minutes before the game and you see the sea of red coming into the Perth Arena, just the whole city is behind you. It's 14,000 people actually yelling and screaming. And it's just an amazing, amazing feeling that, I was very lucky to be a part of back in my day, but it's gone, even larger and stronger. And, man, it's just an amazing atmosphere. It's one of the best in the world. The Perth fans are the best in the world. And it's hard to, I'm sure they have willed the team to some victories that in other places they just would not have won.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Now, I've got a stat for you boys. 3 games in the past 10 years have been won in away grand final series. So that's 3 of 32 games have been won away. I guess that doesn't bode well for Melbourne, but obviously great news for the Wildcats.
Well, if I was Melbourne, I would think it bodes great for me, because that means it's time for someone to actually change that. And I don't think the Wildcats can actually rest on their laurels and think just because we're playing at home, we can win this one, because Melbourne can come in loose. They're playing with, house money. The Wildcats are the one. It's their turn to hold serve. And I think the Wildcats are I'm nervous for them, because, Melbourne feel like they've figured out how to lock Bryce down. He's had his worst games against Melbourne, and I think they feel like they're starting to figure the Wildcats out. So it's been really tough scoring for the Wildcats the first 2 games, and I'm not as confident as most people are. I know the Wildcats can do it, but they're going to have to, I think, go at just a little bit harder than they did the last game, because Melbourne simply outplayed them.
The Red Army will be with you there. They'll be hoping the same thing. Ricky, we're running out of time, but very quickly, I want to ask you about Andrew Bogut for just a minute. We know he's gone back to the Warriors after a pretty successful season in Sydney. You've been in that position before, where you've left the Wildcats, gone to the Hawks, and then come back. Can you relate to how he's feeling? Do you think he'll slot into the team well over there for the second time?
I think he will. Full credit to the basketball in Australia, where it's a league where Andrew came in, did a great job, great NBA player, a great NBL player, but that shows you the strength of the league, where you can be an NBA caliber player, but still not, I guess, lead your team to a championship. And that's credit to all the other Americans and the Australians that are in this league. But I think the good thing is he's showing up in great shape. He's familiar with the Golden State team. He's played there, won championships before, and I'm sure that he'll fit in nicely.
Ricky, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We've run out of time, but it's been wonderful getting your thoughts, and hopefully we'll have you on Fox Sports News once again shortly.
No worries. Thanks, Brad. You were tough to play against too, buddy.
Thanks, Ricky. Oh, that made my night.
That's one of those moments where you're like, I'm never going to wash my hands again. This is awesome.
Look, he's an outright legend. And what just a great, like, he's still got it, hasn't he? Like, just the way he's talking and he's like, I wasn't happy with their energy and everything. Just love him.
No, it was really great. Hopefully we'll get him on again.